Well, every day about 50,000 cars travel Beach Boulevard near Hodges, and that's why it is remarkable that no one was hurt when this hole the size of a school bus opened up. The cave-in is being attributed to a collapsed drainage pipe. Our Juliet Dreyer is live on Beach Boulevard tonight with the latest for us. Juliet.
Anthony, we've just learned from the Florida Department of Transportation that the contractor responsible for maintaining this portion of Beach Boulevard is DBIS, and FDOT says they will be the ones to foot the bill. Meanwhile, you can see all of the progress made. The hole has been filled in, but it did give us a glimpse of the vast network of piping we never see but pass over every single day. Chances are when you're behind the wheel, you look side to side, front to back. But you probably don't think about what's below the asphalt.
There's a reason they're called our hidden infrastructure system. They're out of sight and out of mind until there's a problem.
Ruth Steiner is a professor of urban and regional planning at the University of Florida. She says just below the street's surface lays a network of pipes, clean water, stormwater, wastewater, and natural gas. Think of them like the roads we drive every day. Large highways that branch off into smaller streets. The problem, a small issue like a leak left unaddressed could amount to big problems at the surface.
Initially it may be minor, just a little bit of movement, but over time you may actually undermine the stability of the soil underneath.
While Steiner says she's alarmed to hear about an incident like what happened on Beach Boulevard, overall, she calls these underground networks and the trouble that could come with them a fact of life. They're necessary to get us the resources we need and aren't a problem until they are.
I don't worry about my plumbing in my house until the day I can't flush the toilet or I take a shower and the water's not leaving my house as it should be. Well, then I need to take remedial action.
First Coast News has put in a series of public records requests with FDOT regarding this incident and other work this contractor has done, and we will stay on top of this story and keep you updated as it develops. Reporting live on the South Side, Juliet Dreyer, First Coast News on your side.